Good morning to you, the viewers. We are here in the CBS This Morning Toyota Green Room with the 2018 National Teacher of the Year. What's her name? Mandy Manning. She was chosen by the Nonprofit Council of Chief State School Officers based on her very effective work inside the class, we should tell you. What does Mandy teach? What do you teach, Mandy?
I teach brand new immigrant and refugee students to our nation.
She teaches English and math to refugee and immigrant students at, where do you teach, Mandy?
Joel E. Ferris High School in Spokane, Washington.
Spokane, Washington. She is often the first teacher they have when they come to this country, and we thank you so much for joining us. So this is what I want you guys to know about Mandy already. She's a teacher, but I figured she has to be a mom, because when I walked in, she goes, "You have spots on your dress." And I said, "Yep, this is what happens when you're walking and you're eating salad and dressing." And she goes, "Is that balsamic?" I go, "Yes, it is balsamic dressing." So viewers, I am aware. Katie, my assistant, said, "Gayle, you look a mess." This is what happens when you're walking, eating, brushing to you. So I apologize for my appearance. But no time to change, but I was so excited to talk to you.
I did say it looks like a pattern.
Yeah, she said it looks like a pattern because there's so much of it. Yes. Yeah, I'm kind of like Pigpen in the Peanuts character. I know I got to work on that. But listen, we are here to talk about you because congratulations. So how did you find out you were the Teacher of the Year? You get a phone call and they say what?
I got a phone call and they said, "Hi, Mandy." And I was like, "Hi, why are you guys calling me?" And they were like, "Well, we wanted you to know that you were selected as the National Teacher of the Year." And I was like...
And what does it mean to you, Mandy, winning that? Because listen, your competition is very tough because you're competing against all of the top teachers in the country. What does it mean to you winning Teacher of the Year? That is you.
Well, I first want to say that it's not a competition, it's a selection, because we are all
it's a selection.
Really,
You're all very
been
good.
Surrounded by it's incredible educators. But for me, being selected as National Teacher of the Year means that my students get to get their stories out there. I get to be that ambassador, or the person that shares that voice for that, and that's so important.
And this morning on CBS This Morning, we heard from some of your students who talked very highly of you, who said that you have changed their lives, that they feel that you are someone that they could talk to, because many of them do not speak English, so there is a language barrier, and many of them have been through very tough things.
Yes, my students have been through some pretty
Give us some examples of what these students have been through and how you've helped them and work with them.
Well, my favorite story is Hussein, because he's the one that cuts my hair, and
A student cuts your hair?
Yes. So he came to the United States in 2012, and when he came originally, he was 19, but before the school year started, he turned 20. And so he came to the Newcomer Center, and the Newcomer Center is for brand new immigrant refugee students. So they've not had any, English before, and so he had one year
How old
to go
is he?
to school. He's 24.
Because you teach high school students.
So he was 20 when he came in. So here's this kid, and he was amazing just to start off with, because he was really gregarious, and he so interested in meeting people and practicing his English, and it was so cute. But he was 20, and so I had to think, well, what can we do for this student, because he's
older than most.
He's older, and he has exactly 1 year to do something. And so I just, we would have conversations together, and I found out that he, back in Iraq, because he's from Iraq, that he was a butcher, and he also had cut hair for the U.S. Army. And I was just like, oh my gosh, did you enjoy that work? Did you enjoy cutting hair? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, do you want to study that here? And he goes, yes, it's my dream. I want to be a stylist. And I said, oh, well.
So how did it come that he cut your hair? Did you say, would you like to cut my hair? Or he said, can I cut your hair?
Well,
it's a very unusual haircut, man.
Yes. So it was several years later, because that year we studied, I got him into the skills center, and then he and I worked together to get him through that first year of cosmetology school. But then a couple of years after that, he went to a local cosmetology school, and he ended up getting his license. And at the time when he got his license, I had hair down to here.
You did?
Yeah, and really long hair. And I was like, okay, Hussein, you're licensed now.
And you left it in his hands. Wow.
And
so you go from hair down to your chest to this. So you looked in the mirror and you thought, or you thought, hey, I like it.
Like, this is awesome. I've always wanted to do this. And I mean, he does a beautiful job, and he recently moved to San Diego, so.
No, this is the haircut that a lot of the cool kids are wearing.
Super cool.
I wonder what CBS
cool.
This Morning would do if I came to work with my haircut like that. Anybody in the room?
You should totally do it.
Yeah. They're going, do it. Yeah. Then I'll be on West 57th Street going, taxi. But when did you know that you wanted to be a teacher, and what is it that you love so much? You're growing up, and your dream was to be a teacher. When did this happen that you thought, I want to do this?
Well, it wasn't actually until I was in the classroom that I was like, this is what I want to do.
What is it that you saw in the classroom that made you think, I want to do this?
Well, it was my degree is in filmmaking.
Oh,
you know, I used to work for a news station.
Did you?
And yeah.
What did you do?
I was a studio tech.
Oh,
so I was behind the camera over
Okay.
there. But I knew that my personality wasn't quite the right match for TV news, because I don't know, I'm much more suited to being a teacher. And so I went through all of these things, and then I landed in a classroom, and I didn't have a degree or a certification, but I had a classroom.
You didn't have
a
college degree?
I had a filmmaking degree.
I see, okay.
But I did not have a degree in education.
Okay.
And so, but my aunt, I was in Texas at the time, and she was like, you could totally be a teacher, because I'd been in the Peace Corps, and I had worked as a paraeducator for a year in special education, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll try. And I got a position.
So you get your degree, but what is it that you like about teaching?
Yeah, so the first day I went into the classroom, and I looked out at my students, and I was like, oh my gosh. I looked at them, and they were so full of life and so, full of potential.
How
and I
old
was
were
like,
the kids?
I get high school.
High school, okay.
And I was like, I get to impact these kids. I get to be here, and I get to make a difference. And it was amazing, because I think that having a purpose is so fulfilling, and then to stand in front of the kids and realize that my purpose was to help them be the best that they could be. And so, yeah, from the first day in the classroom, where it was actually my classroom, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Everybody always says, we should say when she was in the green room, but before she was on the air, people were coming up, shaking your hand, saying, I had a teacher who changed my life. I so admire what you do. Do you have a teacher that changed your life?
Yes, I could name my teachers from the time I was in kindergarten all the way through high school, but the one teacher who was completely transformative was Mrs. Baker. She was my 7th grade English teacher. And 7th grade, middle school, just junior high is tough, because
it's really tough for girls.
There's so crazy things happening all here,
all in your
and
body,
I was like 5'11". I was so tall, and so I went into and I had moved, so I was not even in. I'd moved from Washington to California, and so I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody, and I walk into this classroom, and there's Miss Baker, and she was like, I just knew she wanted me to be there. She was excited to get to know me.
And it made the difference.
Completely.
But, teachers are certainly in the forefront now in the news. Today is the 19th anniversary of Columbine, so a lot of us are thinking about that terrible day, the shooting at the school. And I wonder, do you feel in danger when you're at school? There's a national conversation about whether teachers should be armed in the classroom. Do you feel that?
There's a certain feeling of fear, anytime that you're, there's a potential for something to happen. But I never
think about in your classroom?
No, I never think about that in my classroom. When an incident occurs, then we're like all a heightened awareness. But I, for one, never ever want to be armed, and the reason is because a classroom is a community. And if I had a weapon on me and my students knew that I had a weapon on me, or even if they didn't, but they knew some teachers were armed, it would completely change the dynamic of a classroom.
How so?
Well, classrooms are all about connections. And if a kid knows that you have a weapon on them and that you are prepared to use that on a young person, even if it's not them, that completely changes the dynamic between you, because it's no longer this true connection of that kind of becomes like family. It's more like, well, I know deep down you don't really trust me. And I can't imagine that being a positive in any way, because classrooms are all about connections. Yes, they're about content and teaching academics, but so much more important than that is the relationships that we build, and I make connections with the kids, and I help them make connections with each other. And having a weapon in the classroom is in no way going to make it more comfortable.
But you know, Mandy, I always wonder what it's like for teachers and students today, because when I was a kid growing up, never in a million years do you think your life is in danger at school. You know, at the very least, I think we would write notes that were talking about people. You know, we weren't even physically hitting each other.
Yeah.
And now it's gone from physically hitting each other to possibly losing your life.
Yeah.
So you don't go into school every day thinking this could be the day, or even in the back of your mind on some level, that's not something that you carry with you.
I will say that an incident like a school shooting is
the one
like
in Florida that we had
worst
recently.
nightmare, like worst nightmare scenario. And I can't say that I never think about that, because I mean I teach in a school that has like 1,700 kids. Mm-hmm. But I also know that my school has built this incredible community, and we have the Newcomer Center, we have other English language learning classrooms, and we have a diversity within our student body, and we intentionally work to ensure that our students feel connected with one another. And when we see these things happening, these terrible, where one young person is perpetrating this horrible crime against another young person, you have to think, why does that kid not feel connected? And it's not anybody's fault. Like, it's not the other student's fault that that student chose that route, but we have to be very intentional about helping kids connect.
Are they having the conversation at your school about arming teachers?
No.
Oh, that's not even an option.
No.
And you'd prefer that it's
I would prefer it not.
The other national conversation, of course, is about teachers' pay. You know, in several states, the teachers have walked off the jobs or protesting in the streets. And I'm wondering your opinion about that. I think we universally agree teachers are not paid what they deserve.
Yeah.
What do you think would be fair? And I know it ranges, I get it, depending on where you live. But what would be a good starting salary, and how would you like to see that happen?
Well, like you said, it varies a lot. I have no idea what a good starting salary is, because I've taught in Texas, I taught in Washington State, and I taught here in New York City.
In New York City, yeah.
And I got paid like way more here than I did, but it was still difficult because it's very expensive to live here. So I mean, I think that you have to think about the cost of living in an area, but more important than the actual number is just the idea that teachers are not paid a professional wage. Mm-hmm. And so and that has to do with respect and, you know, treating them. I mean, most teachers have to have a master's degree to be in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And so we need to be respecting that. But these walkouts are about so much more than educator pay. Mm-hmm. It's really about what is best for the students. Because inevitably, at the heart of an educator is the needs of our students. And that's really what they're talking about. And yes, we do need to have a living wage, because like a professional living wage, because we cannot afford to have multiple jobs. Mm-hmm. Because our one job as educators is extremely, it takes so much energy and so much focus. So when we're forced to then spend our evenings working somewhere else, or our weekends working somewhere else.
Have to take second jobs.
Yes, and it takes away from our ability to focus on our kids. And that's what we all want to do. We want to focus on our kids, but we also want resources. Mm-hmm. We want to have, functioning equipment. Mm-hmm. We want to have school buildings that are not in disrepair.
Which, by the way, doesn't seem like much to ask to do your job.
It certainly, yes.
I like what you said in the beginning, that it really is, in many cases, a matter of respect.
Yeah.
It is a matter of respect.
Yeah.
I've heard you say, too, that hope is part of your mission. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
So, I'm going to get a little technical, but
don't get too technical.
I won't, just a little tiny bit. But so there's a Gallup poll that goes out every year that asks students their level of hope. Mm-hmm. And each year their level of hope is decreasing. And then there's different things, but some just feel stuck, and then some feel completely like they don't have any
hope at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a huge issue. It definitely impacts a student's ability to learn. And then it also, you know, impacts us as a society, because if you don't have hope or the feeling of agency or autonomy that you can make decisions for yourself and that it's going to work out, you're going to end up giving up. And it's really essential for us as a society that we have hope for the future and that we can accomplish and achieve the things that we want to do, and that our neighbors are good people, and that, you know, if we move to another area, it's going to be safe and exciting, and we're going to meet really interesting people. And so,
I mean, your students are interesting. Many of them are coming to this country. They don't speak the language. I'm wondering how you navigate talking to your students about President Trump, who some people don't feel is very immigrant friendly. How do you navigate that?
Well, it's always, you know, a line, because as a public school educator, I can't influence. I need to be really careful not to influence my students, but also
I'm not trying to get you to influence them. I'm just wondering what you say to them.
Well, and within my classroom also, we do have a section of the refugee and immigrant community that really supports President Trump and his policies, and then we also have a group that is adversely affected by his policies. And so what the main thing that I talk about is that our nation is much bigger than our president, and that he, yes, is like the person that everybody looks to as the person in charge of our country, but really, you know, the United States is huge, and we're covered with people, and most people want my students to be here. They understand that they add beauty and interesting, you know, different perspectives and ideas, and that as, you know, as a nation who came as immigrants, that's where we are. Our heart is that, and we will continue to be that, and my students are welcome, and they should be here. So I'm just very intentional about sending that message.
That sounds like hope to me.
Yes.
And you will spend the next year as Teacher of the Year, 2018, traveling all around the country, spreading your message of hope and education. Mandy Manning, your name Mandy, are you familiar with the Barry Manilow song? Hey Mandy,
very
you came
familiar, yes.
and you gave
Without
taking. I was wondering, is your real name Amanda?
No, it's Mandy.
It's Mandy.
Because I was named after that song.
After the Barry Manilow song?
Yes.
Oh God, I wish there was a way we could play it. Is there any way we can play the Barry Manilow song? They're going, no, it's not. All right, Mandy Manning, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Mandy Manning, 2018 Teacher of the Year, named after the Barry Manilow song, Mandy.
Yeah.